You're now tuned in to the Real Money Coach broadcast with host Tony Jackson, author of the book Increase, Protect, and Dominate Your Money. Get ready for winning tips and strategies to effectively manage your finances and learn the key principles of protecting and dominating your money. Now, here's author and host Tony Jackson.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Real Money Coach show here on Praise 100.9. Charlotte's Inspiration Station. I am your host, the Real Money Coach, Tony Jackson, and I'm excited that you are joining us this morning. And if you are not listening to us live on the radio, you may be listening to this as a podcast. In either case, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of this experience. And speaking of experience, I do want to just tell y'all, I am having the time of my life, y'all. Last weekend, I was in Baltimore. You heard me on the radio, gave a shout out to my granddaughter. It was her birthday party. But I got this little namesake, this little Tony Jackson III. Trey is about 6 weeks old, and I got a chance to hang out with my son and his wife and my other grandson, Cameron, and my wife and family, and we just had a great time at the birthday party. So I'm having a ball. I'm having a ball. Life is good. I hope that you are enjoying your life because we know life is way too short to be miserable. So I pray that you are not miserable in your life. If you are, I suggest that you do something different, right? Find a way to find some joy in your life. And I don't know where this comes from, y'all, but, you know, this joy I have, the world didn't give it to me, and the world cannot take it away. It comes from my Savior, Jesus Christ. So thank you for tuning in once again. I do want to do really quick. I want to give a shout out a little bit of the election news, in particular, because this is the Real Money Coach show. And as you know, the REAL is an acronym that stands for relevant, educational, actionable, and life-changing information. And we deal primarily with a couple pockets of information. We deal with proper money management, right? That means your credit, your debt, all those types of things. Then we deal with having the proper investment in insurance. And then our other pillar that we like to deal with is real estate, whether you own it, whether it's commercial, personal, those type of things. And then our fourth pillar is business development. And that's where a lot of our guests kind of fall in. And then, as you know, if I'm led to have a show about something else, we'll do that. But I do have a lot of entrepreneurs on my show. And my guest today is going to be in that vein. We're going to be talking about business acquisition. And so that's going to be a wonderful conversation. You do want to make sure that you stay tuned for that. But again, with the election, one of the big things that happened is the passing of the bonds for Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. And it passed overwhelmingly with 63% of the vote. Now, the purpose of that is to put more investment in the infrastructure of our schools. And my wife being a teacher and my daughter being a teacher, I understand how important that is. And, you know, if you go to many of our schools, our high schools, you'll see the trailers because of the growth that we're having here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. It's been hard for them to keep up with the growth. As soon as they build a school, it's already over capacity. And so I really am glad that they passed this bond issue. And I know that there's a lot of controversy about it because there are people that are saying, hey, you know, it's going to raise our property taxes. Property tax base already in Mecklenburg County is higher than if you go across the border to South Carolina and all those economic things that go with it. But I just believe this, and I'm going to jump off my soapbox, is that if we don't invest in the education of our children, if we don't put more investment in them, what is going to happen? What is going to be the result of that? And when I talk about education, I think that K through 12 is hugely important because we know not every child is meant to go to college. Not every child will go to college. But every child is probably, and we hope and we pray that they go through the K through 12 school system and become productive citizens and be able to provide for their family. And we know how difficult that could be, providing for the living wage that is necessary. And, even in this recent webinar I did on Wednesday, about mortgage insurance. And in that, I gave an example. The average home price now in Charlotte is $386,000. $386,000. Interest rates at 8.2%. That equates to a house note of $2,800. Now, how much money do you have to be making in order to afford a house note of $2,800? And so that, for many people, has put we'll call it the dream of home ownership further away than it ever has been. And so it is very important that we have the trade, we have the skills, even for those who don't go on to college, and even those who do and graduate, that there is a working wage that will allow them to be able to take care of their families, own a home, and all those great things. So I just wanted to kind of point that out. Now, here's the thing that I think can be the great equalizer. The great equalizer is business, owning a business, being a part of a business. And let me make this very clear. Most of the time when people think about entrepreneurship, they're thinking about, I got to bootstrap, I got to roll up my sleeves, and I got to go in here and I got to do this thing, right? Well, do you know you can be a business owner and not actually work in the business? You could just be the business owner, right? You could own stock. You could be an owner of Apple. You could be an owner. You can be an owner of a business and not actually work in that business. And, that's what we're going to unpack a little bit with our guest. His name is Afam, and he's going to come here after we take a quick break. And I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. He's got such a dynamic background. I think you're really going to enjoy this interview. And then we're going to get into his book that he wrote. And the title of the book is From Legacy to Dynasty. And we're going to unpack that. So you are listening to the Real Money Coach Show here on Praise 100.9, Charlotte's Inspiration Station. Stay tuned and we'll be right back.
You ought to be grateful for what he's done. All the battle and the victory won. You ought to be grateful, 'cause he set you free. He did it for you, and he did it just for me. You ought to be grateful for everything. Grateful, 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 grateful.
Praise family, join author Tony Jackson for the Real Money Coach broadcast each and every Saturday morning from 7:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. on Praise 100.9. Mr. Jackson enlightens you on the real secrets of money. He'll also help you increase, protect, and dominate your money. You can also catch Tony Jackson's The Real Money Coach every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on Facebook Live and YouTube. Check out The Real Money Coach, Mr. Tony Jackson, every Saturday morning, 7:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. on Praise 100.9.
This is Tony Jackson, the Real Money Coach. I use my deep understanding of personal financial principles and 25 years of experience to educate my clients and empower them to make informed financial decisions. I dive into the emotional and psychological aspects of money to help them uncover their own beliefs and behavior. I provide practical strategies through personalized coaching to overcome financial challenges, build wealth, and achieve financial goals. To schedule your complimentary session with me, go to therealmoneycoach.com. I'm Tony Jackson. I'm the Real Money Coach.
And welcome back to the Real Money Coach broadcast with author and host, Tony Jackson.
Welcome back to the Real Money Coach show here on Praise 100.9, Charlotte's Inspiration Station. Thank you again for tuning in. And as I mentioned to you in the first part of the show, I have a wonderful guest that is an author. I am referring to him as a business acquisition expert, right? And we're going to unpack his book here in a second. I do want to remind you that you can share this. You can share this radio broadcast as it is released as a podcast. You can go Google, and it feels so good, right? You can Google Tony Jackson, Real Money Coach, and you'll see where it is. It'll come up on Apple, Spotify, Pandora, all of the podcasting platforms. And you can share this with your family and friends. But let me introduce you to my friend Afam here. He is presently a resident of Toronto, Canada. As I read his background, he is dynamic, right? He's a social psychologist with a diverse professional and cultural background. Born in West Africa, began his career in corporate banking in what is now Africa's largest bank. Moved to U.S. in 2004 for postgraduate studies, earning a MBA degree from the University of Dallas in Texas. Continued his work with financial services like Citi Financial, Edward Jones Investments, before transitioning it to project management. He is an investor, a business consultant, a tech entrepreneur, and he is in the studio with me right now, and I'm glad to have him here. How are you doing this morning? Man, I tell you what, as I read your background, I'm like, this is a heavyweight, man. This is a heavyweight. But what I'd love for you to do is for our listening audience this morning, if you wouldn't just fill in what I missed on this biography as I was going through it.
You got it. My name is Afam Elue. I'm from Toronto, Canada, Bay of West Africa, Nigeria, West Africa. So my career started in banking, moved into wealth management, and now I do business acquisitions. What's interesting about that, and you mentioned something, effect of working not in the business, not on the business, but here above the business.
Ooh.
Okay. That's the
whoa. We're going to unpack that.
Okay.
We're going to unpack that on Tuesday for sure because, you know, what we talk about a lot is like, you know, you're working in your business. When you're working in your business, you can't work on your business. But you just took it to another level and said above your business.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Explain that a little bit. Come on.
So
I can't wait.
At this point, you're not even on the org.
You're
not even on the org. You're not the CEO. Okay? You have no responsibility. You just own. That's where we're.
All right. Now, listen, y'all, if you follow me on Facebook and YouTube and have been watching my live show, you know my co-host, Michelle Mitchell from Mitchell Consulting, is all about that. And I think that conversation right there, we're going to unpack that even more on Tuesday because that's rich. That's rich. And I think, you know, Kiyosaki kind of talks about the 4 quadrants, whether you're an employee, right? So you're working for the business, self-employed, you you're still working for the business working you, right? And then you have that business systems, and then the I quadrant is an investor. And that's really the ultimate goal, is to be the investor. Yeah, I love that. So that's good, man. So tell us a little bit more about.
So I think you hit on that point, which is the investment quadrant, okay? Where you're an entrepreneur, but now a different kind of entrepreneur. Okay, you're an acquisition entrepreneur, right? So here you own the business and you got it through acquisition, which is the preferred way, because we know 90% of businesses go out of business in the first 5 years. And you mentioned something about starting from scratch, which means you have to get the staff right, you have to get your branding right, you have to get the systems right, you have to get the clients, all of these things in place to actually have a successful business. But by acquiring it, okay, you just sort of leapfrog all of that headache. Okay, you reduce your risk. Okay, you have brand loyalty, you have established clientele, you have even cash flow, right? By acquiring the business, and you're also solving a problem, because we know that baby boomers are getting into retirement at this point at record levels every day.
Well, and I talk about that all the time, is that when you think of baby boomers, people born between 1946, 1964, they're turning 65 at a rate of about 10,000 per day.
Absolutely.
And many of them are, going applying for their Social Security benefits and wanting to exit out of their business.
Yes. So they're left with, several choices here. We also know that a good percentage, not to knock the marketplaces that we have online, Biz Buy Sell and those kinds of places, but most of the businesses on there don't sell, okay? A good up to 90% at this point. So these retirees, these boomers, have choices to either work in the business longer or just shut it down. So we have a third option, which is coming to acquire it and allowing a young investor to own an asset that will create generational wealth. Hence the book, From Legacy to Dynasty, the Business Acquisition Blueprint, How to Create Generational Wealth. It's out in stores, on Amazon, and on my website, FromLegacyToDynastyBook.com.
Well, I think that's an awesome title, awesome concept. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, get a little music, and then we're going to come back. And I want to dig a little bit deeper into the book and maybe ask you to maybe share one concept, one little nugget, if you will, out of the book. And then we'll leave the rest for Tuesday night, right? So you're listening to the Real Money Coach Show here on Praise 100.9, Charlotte's Inspiration Station.
You kept me a long time, and I'm so glad you did. You kept me a long time, and I'm so glad you did. You kept me a long time, and I'm so glad you did. Lord, so glad, so glad, so glad you did. Yeah, you did. You kept me a long time, and I'm so glad you did. You kept me a long time, and I'm so glad you did. You.
Hey, Grace family, join author Tony Jackson for the Real Money Coach broadcast each and every Saturday morning from 7:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. on Praise 100.9. Mr. Jackson enlightens you on the real secrets of money. He'll also help you increase, protect, and dominate your money. You can also catch Tony Jackson's The Real Money Coach every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on Facebook Live and YouTube. Check out The Real Money Coach, Mr. Tony Jackson, every Saturday morning, 7:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. on Praise 100.9.
This is Tony Jackson, the Real Money Coach. I use my deep understanding of personal financial principles and 25 years of experience to educate my clients and empower them to make informed financial decisions. I dive into the emotional and psychological aspects of money to help them uncover their own beliefs and behavior. I provide practical strategies through personalized coaching to overcome financial challenges, build wealth, and achieve financial goals. To schedule your complimentary session with me, go to therealmoneycoach.com. I'm Tony Tony Jackson. I'm the Real Money Coach.
And welcome back to the Real Money Coach broadcast with author and host, Tony Jackson.
Welcome back to the Real Money Coach show here on Praise 100.9, Charlotte's Inspiration Station. Let me remind you, if you have not already, please make sure that you go to YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I would certainly appreciate all of you doing that. And so we're here having this wonderful interview about business acquisition. And, we hear all the time, start a business, own a business, that type of thing. But you just mentioned leapfrogging a lot of the hurdles that we have in those first couple years of owning a business. And so then you wrapped it all up in a book. And so from Legacy to Dynasty, talk a little bit about that title for me.
Legacy seems to be a buzzword, social consciousness. Everyone wants to leave a legacy. It seems to be the, underlying driver of purpose. So to address it in this way, just sort of puts me in the middle of the conversation. So it comes from my background too. My name, Afam, which means my name will not be forgotten, which ties into legacy. And then the dynasty piece is the wealth preservation aspect, which is how do we sustain this once created? How do we keep our legacy beyond our generations, descendants ever know? So that's the driver.
And then of course, the generational wealth piece. Before we went on break, you were talking and sharing about, leapfrogging all that by acquiring a business, an existing business. Maybe it's a baby boomer, maybe it's someone that is looking to, looking for an exit strategy. Maybe haven't planned for that. The big question that a lot of people are going to ask is, how do I get capital to acquire? Number one is, where do I find these businesses? And number two, once I find one, how do I come up with the capital or the resources to, acquire an already established business?
That's an awesome question. And we address that in the book. So we're using a different methodology than your typical, private equity, money manager type of acquisition, where you have a pile of cash, you have a fund, businesses, cash. We have very creative strategies to leverage acquisition, because we're talking to what we've identified as a motivated seller. Okay, and there are 10 criteria for what qualifies as a motivated seller. That's the first place to look. Okay, so it's someone like we identified, looking for retirement, someone that has what we call a shiny object syndrome.
Okay.
And maybe cash flow problems, or like a dispute, with partners, and they just need someone else to come take over the asset. Okay. Health reasons, things like that. So there are 10, it's listed in the book. So once you find a motivated seller, creative things can happen from there. All right. You don't need a lot of money. As a matter of fact, we espouse acquiring a business for little or no money out of pocket.
Well, that's
drop the mic on that one.
Drop the mic on that. Okay. Halt. Hit the brake. Because I think that could be very attractive to people. Yeah. Is to be able to acquire business with little or no money. Now, one of the things I think that happens, probably a lot of this goes on in circles that we just have not been invited to. And so I think it's very interesting that you're bringing this to our people.
I'm inviting you.
You're inviting.
Yes.
You're inviting. Listen, you all are being invited.
Absolutely.
To be a part of this movement in terms of business acquisition. Yeah. And so if I'm out there and I'm interested in, business acquisition, the first thing that I want to tell everyone you got to do is tune in on Tuesday, right? That's the first thing if you're interested. What are some other things that a person can do to start preparing for that?
First, get my book. Okay.
And it's available on Amazon and where else?
And on my website, from Legacy To Dynasty book.com.
From Legacy To Dynasty book.com. Okay.
Absolutely.
So we got to get the book.
Absolutely.
So that we can get our intelligence up.
Your mind right. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a paradigm shift, right? It takes you from just seeing things as linear to having a different order of how we can scale into this space. So that's the first thing, the mindset. And then the next thing is to identify people in your circle that have this situation, right? Once you see, let's say you're shopping for a Mercedes, a red Mercedes, all of a sudden, every time you're driving down the street, you're seeing red Mercedes.
Nothing but red Mercedes.
Exactly.
Right.
So once you've shifted your paradigm, every conversation will almost delve into, a conversation around how do I either exit or how do I create this time freedom or money freedom or any of those kinds of things. And we're all in the middle of this. So opportunities are everywhere.
Start with the book, and I think that's great because as people will look at the 10 traits, if you will, of a motivated seller, that again you'll start to see and recognize these things, like you said with the red Mercedes, right? So now you see them everywhere. So if someone wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
I'm on LinkedIn or through my website. Facebook, or through you.
There you go.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Yes.
So listen, it's been a great interview. I can't wait to continue to unpack these things on Tuesday as we dive even a little bit deeper into the book in this whole new concept for a lot of people. This is a brand new concept to be thinking about business acquisitions. So thank you so much for being part of the show this morning. You all have a wonderful Saturday, and I'll see you on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You're listening to The Real Money Coach Show here on Praise.
We hope you've enjoyed the Real Money Coach broadcast with author and host Tony Jackson. We encourage you to utilize today's strategies and principles to manage your money in the most effective and winning way. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to send us an email, TonyJacksonAgency@gmail.com, or you can reach us on all social media platforms. And if you would like a copy of Tony Jackson's book, Increase, Protect, and Dominate Your Money, log on to www.therealmoneycoach.com. Until next week's empowering broadcast, God bless.